Hey, Canucks fans, there was a key 5 moment stretch at the end of the second period in last night's 5-2 victory over the Predators. A key 5 minute stretch that could have, let's not be over dramatic, it wasn't going to derail the whole season, but it could have easily derailed last night's game and even some of the momentum that the Canucks have built over the past week or so. And that was, of course, the benching of JT Miller. But it was Miller's response, it was the team's response, it was the coach's response after the game that really speaks to the maturity of this team. It really speaks to how much further ahead this team is than it has been in previous years. So let's talk about what happened first, and then I'll talk about why the response was so good by JT Miller, by the team, and by head coach Rick Tocchet. So last night's game, second period, it was a 2-2 game. Nashville went up 2-1 after the first, then PD tied it early, so it was 2-2. And then in the first period, remember, JT Miller took a double minor. He took a hooking call against Philip Forsberg at the end of the first period. And instead of getting just 2 minutes for hooking, he also was chirping at the ref the entire trip to the penalty box, and he got another 2 minutes. Now, thankfully, Nashville didn't score on that power play. But what happened after was that actually they took then one penalty after the first of JT Miller's two penalties expired. The Nashville took a penalty, so then it evened it up at 4-aside. And actually, Pettersson ended up scoring at the start of the second period on that 4-on-4. But already, kind of the stage was set. JT Miller, the hooking penalty, fine. Everyone takes minor penalties. But the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty was definitely not warranted. It was the right call, but it was certainly one that JT Miller penalty that he did not and should not have taken. Did not have to take and he shouldn't have taken. So then we go to the second period. So now remember, PD scores early in the second. Now it's 2-2. 2-2 heading to the end of the second. And then 13 minutes in, JT Miller takes a high sticking penalty against Roman Josi. Now we know JT Miller is a competitive guy. He's never going to back down from a challenge, and that's fine. But this was a retaliatory penalty. Josi got in not a cheap shot, but a stiff check on Miller, undetected by the refs, or at least they didn't think it was a penalty. But as usually is the case, they catch the guy who hits back. So Miller high sticks Roman Josi, kind of undisciplined once again. Again, he's a passionate player, but then he's put in the penalty box, and thankfully, once again, Nashville does not score on that power play. But then that power play ends, and 30 seconds later, Nashville takes a penalty, and then power play one rolls out, and you know who's not on that power play unit? It's JT Miller, and they made a point of it on the broadcast, saying that Philip Hronek took his spot. So it was Hughes, Besser, Pettersson, Kuzmenko, and not JT Miller, but it was Philip Hronek. I don't want to say it was add insult to injury, but Hronek and Kuzmenko then assist on PD's power play goal, which ends up being the game-winning goal, the 3-2 goal, and that was 1 minute into, not even a minute into that penalty. So, okay, maybe you think that's fine. He's just getting the message. He's just sitting off the power play. But then he doesn't play for the rest of the period. And granted, after that goal, there were only 3.5 minutes left in that period, but that meant at least one more shift for the top line, or for that second line, and JT Miller was not on it. It was Phil DiGiuseppe and Brock Besser skating with another center. I think it was Pius Suter, actually. I'm not sure. Regardless, Miller didn't play for the remainder of the second period. So then you're wondering, okay, what's going to happen to start off the third period? Well, guess who starts the third period? As they've done for almost every period this entire game, the line of JT Miller, Phil DiGiuseppe, and Brock Besser starts off the third period, because we've seen, especially in second periods, but usually they've been scoring a lot, or they scored at least a few goals within the first shift of a period. So JT Miller was back out there for the first shift of the third period, and then just a little bit later, 3 minutes into that period, 8 seconds after a Niels Höglander interference penalty, JT Miller gets revenge a little bit on Philip Forsberg, where Philip Forsberg takes an interference penalty against JT Miller on the Nashville Predators power play. JT Miller gets a bit of revenge. Remember, it was Forsberg that drew a penalty on Miller in the first period that led to his unsportsmanlike call. Miller then gets this call, go 4-on-4, and just 45 seconds after that, 55 seconds after that, JT Miller scores on a backhand, not on a backhand, on a rebound off a Brock Besser shot, fighting Kevin Lankinen for the puck, pushing it across the goal line. Well, they kind of did it together, and that was the insurance goal. And then JT Miller played a regular shift for the rest of the game. So, yeah, just think about, in a nutshell, what happened. He takes a double minor in the first, then he takes another undisciplined penalty in the second, comes out of the box, does not get put on the first power play unit that scores, does not play another shift for the end of the rest of that period, comes out to start the third period, draws a penalty, and then scores on the ensuing power play. Now, after the game, Rick Tocchet said that he loves JT Miller. He even called him a kid. I love the kid. I have no problem with the kid. He said, the question was, well, what happened? Why'd you bench him? Got to show accountability. Got to show that no one's above, doing the right things, playing the right way. And then the question was, were you kind of making an example for the whole team? He goes, yeah, I was. I'm not afraid to bench Miller or Pettersson if you had to. Then he talked about what happened in the intermission. Well, we talked about it. Miller came up to me. We both apologized to each other. We said our piece and we were fine. And I guess they're fine because sure enough, Tocchet started JT Miller to start off the third period. So when you look at it, now the day after and it's 5-2, you say, okay, that's fine. It's not a big deal. He may have even enjoyed the rest of it. No, I'm sure he didn't enjoy the rest on the bench. But JT Miller, this could have easily gone sideways. He could have pouted. He could have got mad. He could have been slamming the bench around. He could have refused to play the third period, which I doubt would have happened. Tocchet could have refused to play him in the third period, which I, again, doubt that would, because the game was still in doubt. But JT Miller, he wasn't thrilled, obviously, but he was still a good teammate. He was still, opening the bench door because he was sitting right in front of the door. And I'm not sure what that intermission conversation would have sounded like or looked like, but Miller ended up doing his job and getting the insurance marker. And I just think this speaks to a mature JT Miller, because we know the kind of blow-ups JT Miller had last year. And he even admitted in the offseason that maybe he wasn't great at holding his emotions in check. 2 instances I think of, one of them was slamming a stick on the crossbar behind Colin Delia when he thought Delia was late getting to the bench for a delayed penalty or an extra attacker. Another time where they highlighted on Hockey Night Canada where JT Miller did not think that back-checking was important on defense. And those are just 2 of a few instances that happened last year. An argument with Luke Shen, I remember that one as well at the end of a period. But I think with his new contract, the new responsibility, he's looked at as the emotional leader of this Canucks team. And Rick Tocchet has even talked about the Canucks. He thinks they're too quiet, that they don't talk enough. But one player he'll never say that about is JT Miller. So JT Miller is the emotional heartbeat. He's the emotional pulse. He's the backbone emotionally of this Canucks team. So again, this could have gone sideways, but credit to JT Miller, to the team, and to Rick Tocchet, where they didn't let it become a distraction. And in fact, it probably made the team a bit stronger heading into the third period. And this season, the first season of JT Miller's big contract, his 8-year contract. Is it 8 years? Yeah, I guess an 8-year contract, right? He's very consistent. He has 13 points in 9 games. He's a +8, and he's only been held off the score sheet 3 times. He started with 4 points, then he went 0-0, and then he went 2-2-0, 3-1-1, including one, and that last one was the one from last night. Now, granted, his 13 minutes of ice time last night was by far a season low. His lowest prior to that was 17:30, but he's had games of 25 minutes, 22:44, 21:41, 22. Oh, he's had 2 games of 22:44. My point is, he usually plays more than 20 minutes, and he rarely plays less than or fewer than 14 minutes. So it was an interesting subplot as part of last night's big Canucks win, a win that puts the Canucks 4 games over 500, which is pretty crazy to say, at 6-2-1, 13 points already, second place in the Pacific Division, holding strong. And JT Miller, one of the big reasons why. And my point of this whole video is last night's episode showed the maturity and the evolution of JT Miller as a player and as a leader. Canucks fans, Let me know your thoughts about the game. Let me know your thoughts about JT Miller, his benching, and his response, and the response of the team and Rick Tocchet overall. Leave it in the comments below. I'd love to read, react, or reply as always. And happy birthday to legendary Lucas Gates. Happy 31st. Thank you for your support on this channel. So speaking of which, thank you, legendary Lucas Gates, legendary Carol Bovelander, legendary Andrew Chang, Hall of Fame and franchise members. Thanks for your support. And thanks to all of you for watching, liking, and subscribing. Thanks also to my sponsors, Advanced City Experts Real Estate and Perform and Transform Personal Training Weight Loss. I'll be streaming tonight at 11 p.m., same, my usual place, right here in my home office. So I hope to see you tonight for my 11 p.m. live stream. In the meantime, subscribe, like the video, become a member, upgrade your membership, leave a donation, and definitely leave a comment down below your thoughts on the JT Miller benching and an ultimate response in last night's win. Okay, friends, have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. God bless, and go Canucks go.